Million-dollar mistakes that business owners make that can cost them a fortune. Welcome to today's live. I'm Stacy Tuschl, founder and CEO of Well-Oiled Operations. I'm going to share with you a story where one of our clients almost spent about $50,000 on an annual salary. Somebody she thought she needed to have working in her business. And we did this one exercise and she didn't have to spend a dollar. She already had people in house. Okay. So trust me, I'm going to show you a bunch of stories today where you think you should spend the money. You are spending the money, and we're going to let you save a lot of that. So let me know who's here. Say hi in the chat. Thanks for joining me live. So by the end of this video, we're going to talk about stop hiring too soon and too often, eliminate low value tasks that are draining your team, how to avoid overpaying underperformers, all right? How to prevent your best team members from leaving, and also saving you thousands by knowing the difference between an expense and a revenue generator, okay? So today I want to talk about 5 of the most common million-dollar mistakes we see. We have right now, I think, 600 active clients inside of Well-Oiled Operations, all making multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, some 8 figures. And we see a lot of overspending. Okay. So we're going to talk about how to catch these costs before you actually spend it. Okay. And what to do instead to actually scale sustainably. If you're ready, say ready in the chat and let's begin. Okay. So mistake number 1. I'm going to go here first because I see this the most often is hiring. Like, people drink my Kool-Aid, and my Kool-Aid is hire, build a dream team. It's amazing. You'll feel so much better, right? Maybe you just saw my Instagram stories where I'm lacking a person in my business that I need. And then thankfully I have a connection where I was like, can you come over? And he did, and it instantly fixed it, right? So you're drinking my build a team Kool-Aid, but you don't want to hire before you're ready or before you audit. Okay. So yes, hiring can feel like the right answer, the next step, right? But you may not need this person yet. Okay. So here's the example I want to use. I had a client who said, okay, I definitely need a social media manager. Okay. So she was telling me she was doing it. This other person was doing it. It was taking way too much of her time. They were getting behind because she's also the business owner. How many of you are like trying to be the business owner, and then maybe you're the social media manager, or you're the marketing director of marketing, or customer complaint, etc., right? You're wearing all of the hats. So she was like, I have to hire this and get this off of my plate. Now, I was really surprised to hear that she thought she needed a full-time social media manager. Okay. She had an RV park / it was like 3 businesses. A restaurant was combined, an RV park, and then one more thing combined. And I get it. It's like kind of like 3 businesses in one, and she was very successful. But I'm like, I don't believe you need somebody 40 hours a week, right? So I'm like, let's dig in here. So we start digging, and what was happening was she's actually a photographer, and she takes beautiful photos of her food for this restaurant. And that is what is doing amazing, right? All of these like beautiful shots of the dishes. But what she was doing was she was like plating them and then trying to take it before she served it. And I said, listen, you can't do all of these things and think you're going to like knock it out of the park, right? So I said, what you should do is once a month, go in the kitchen and make all of these dishes, and then take a minute to shoot them all, and then have somebody on your team just schedule them. And she was like, okay, like obviously. I said, here's the deal. If you can do this, and she's like, I could shoot that in one day. I could make the food and shoot the food in one day. I'm like, okay, if that's the case, you probably have one person working 5 hours a week scheduling all of this stuff. So she walked in thinking, I'm going to spend $50,000 a year, full-time social media, walking out going, I already have somebody that can do that. Okay. So this is where don't get so excited and think you need to hire. Calm down and ask yourself, but wait, do you have somebody that could already do it? Or how could you be more efficient? Does this make sense? Say yes in the chat. Okay, so that's mistake number 1. Payroll is usually one of the largest expenses. Our payroll is multiple 6 figures a month right now. Very, very high, but still healthy profit margins. So it says we're on track. But my point is, if payroll is going to be one of your largest expenses, you need to make sure that your team isn't bloated. You don't want to hire for the sake of hiring. Okay. So good. Mistake. And if you have questions, I'm here live. That's why I'm here. So ask me questions, put it in the chat. I would love, love, love to coach some of you. Okay. So mistake number 2, not knowing the ROI of a role, return on investment of a role. So if payroll is going to be your biggest expense, if someone is making 50K, are they bringing in at least 100K in value? Right? So one of the things we preach in Well Oiled is that every single team member should directly or indirectly make the company money. So before I ever go to hire, I say to myself, where is this person? Where do they have the opportunity to return their investment? Right? So before I decide, okay, we're going to hire somebody to work the desk or somebody to start calling our old outdated collections. Like we just have people that maybe haven't paid. We got to get them paid, right? Before I go and make that hire, I'm asking myself, how could they possibly make the return on investment? I don't think a lot of people do this, right? So here's an example. If I've got, and I see this a lot, you guys, okay? I've got a client who has $30,000 of unpaid invoices sitting on her desk, and she's too busy to call and make that money. Okay. Not okay. Not okay. Go hire somebody for 20 bucks an hour, 10 hours a week that just dials and says, hi, we've got to get your bill taken care of, right? Half that stack is going to go, oh, yeah, I was just waiting for the invoice, right? So if I know that, okay, she's going to work 10 hours a week, she can probably make X amount of phone calls per hour. I can start to go, okay, I think if that's just say that's 800 bucks a month, I am confident out of these $30,000 worth of invoices, she's going to make me back 800 bucks a month. Now, is this a one-time project or do I need her to stay permanently? Well, every month you're going to have new invoices. So if you pay 800 bucks a month for somebody to just collect the money and you make way more than the 800, it's worth it because right now you're being cheap. You're not hiring that girl and you're wasting $30,000. So think you don't want to spend the 800 a month because you can do it. You just don't. You just don't get to it. So instead, 30 grand is sitting on your desk uncollected. That is insanity. But it is not an uncommon story. I see it over and over and over. I used to, before I had good boundaries, I used to let people take a little longer or any chance we can make this payment, right? And I would, sure, no problem. And then I would have thousands, right? But now I'm in a place where we have systems in place. We specifically in my studios, we charge on the 15th of the month. Okay. Now our goal is that by the first of the month, they've got 2 weeks to collect everybody's money that has declined, expired, etc. Or we clean up the, are they still coming here? Okay. So what are your systems? And let's backtrack because I went off a little. Do you know the role, the ROI, return on investment of the role you want to hire? I am never afraid to hire because I go through that exercise and I figure out the return on investment. And if it's not there, I just don't hire. Most people, you know what they do? Most business owners, they say, oh, it would be really nice to have a social media manager. Let's just bring her on. And they never go, but what could that person make? How fast could they make it back, right? So when you have this hiring skill set, it's one of the biggest things we teach in Well Oiled. When you know how to hire, attract, hire, retain revenue generators, they don't cost you money, right? They don't cost you money. They make more money than you pay them. When you don't have that hiring skill set, you bring people on and sometimes they don't make their investment back. And that's where your profit margin starts to tank. Okay. Is this making sense? Let's move on to mistake number 3. Confusing busy with productive. One of the biggest things we do is take people from 80 hours a week to 60, from 60 to 40, right? So many people come into Well Oiled and they are working overtime. I think the worst I've ever heard is 125 hours a week. And normally I would say, I don't think that's possible. But when I saw what this person looked like, I could tell they were not sleeping. They were sacrificing, their sleep, right, for their health to make more in the business. And the problem was they were just being like, she needed to go to bed, right? We had somebody who was working an insane amount. She took a vacation and she slept 12 hours a day every day and came home and was like, I'm still tired. And it's because your body can't keep up. Your mind can't keep up with how you're pushing. So busy is not great, right? I mean, I can work 3 hours and outperform somebody who works 12, right? So busy, long hours, how much are you working? It's not about how long you're working, how much you're working. It's about what you're producing. What is the outcome? Who cares about your input? What about your output? So when you, today's Wednesday, you wrapped up Monday, Tuesday so far. I don't care how many hours you worked. I want to know, what did you produce on Monday? What did you produce on Tuesday? And if you don't know, I want you in the middle of the week to reevaluate what you're doing the rest of the day today and Thursday, Friday. Okay. A lot of people have things on their calendar they're dreading. They don't want to. They just said yes. They shouldn't have it on there. Somebody just asked me today on Instagram, any chance I can interview you on my YouTube channel? And I said, listen, it's a yes, but it's a not right now. And the reason for that is when I look at my calendar, I already feel pretty maxed with the time frame I've given it, right? So if this is what my calendar looks like and I only have this much space, I looked at that and said, I can't squeeze your pot. And I know it's just like so sad, like it's one podcast, 30 minutes. But if I say yes to that, then what boundaries do I have, right? So for me, it's not that I just said no to her. It's I'm saying no to anybody that is asking something of me that is not in my top 3 priorities right now. Okay. And you just got to be able to do that. Right. So don't confuse busy with productive. Get the right things on your calendar that actually make money. Now, somebody recently asked me, well, what about if it makes money in the long term, but doesn't make money in the short term? Okay. How many of you are maybe thinking about that, right? Like, well, I think this could do really well. Like 2 years from now, I'm probably going to see the return. Okay. So here's a great example with YouTube specifically. I decided November, October, I am going to double down on YouTube. Is YouTube a fast, quick return on investment? No, it's actually not. Now you might be thinking, but Stacy's doing it. Maybe I should be doing it. But I am in a place where I have a full-blown leadership team. I can choose what I want to work on because the team has marketing covered, sales covered, customer success, and operations. So I can pick things that don't have an immediate return on investment because we have plenty immediate return on investment, right? So it's not a distraction. So for me, I also have 30+% profit margin. So if I'm happy with finances, I'm happy with my time, my leaders have it under control, I am able to say, I'm willing to do a long-term investment. Okay. Now, if I was in 2021 right now, where the business was still figuring itself out, I was working like a crazy person, right? I didn't have a full leadership team. This would never have been a priority because I needed quick cash. I needed positive cash flow as soon as possible. I didn't have time to put long-term projects on my plate. Today, I can put a portion of long-term projects on my plate because the money is flowing in. Cash flow is positive. Our business is in a great spot. If you're not in a great spot, don't do that yet. Okay. 2022, I think 21, whatever I said, that would not have been the time for me to double down on YouTube. It just wouldn't have been. Okay. But I think sometimes we get excited about what we could be doing or what we should be doing. I just went to one of my priorities right now is just getting better at content and learning how to go more viral. Some of our posts are getting millions of views and we're trying to be more consistent with going viral. And that's something I was at a conference all about going viral. And somebody's like, whose conference is this? Should I be going to this? And I knew them. And I said, you don't even have the back end to handle going viral. Like if we go viral, right, it sparks our Instagram and we'll have like a really big influx of people, leads, clients, etc. We can handle it. We have a back end. We have we're operations people, right? So you got to be careful, because just because you're watching what other people are doing doesn't mean it's your next big step, right? I always talk about the $1 million pain point. What is it costing you? What should you be focusing on? And if you pick the wrong one, you lose momentum, right? You might be missing out on the cash flow that you could be when you double down and you focus on the right stuff. When we do our free strategy calls, it's literally to make sure you walk away knowing your number one pain point, what we believe is your number one problem. Like, we literally dig for 30 minutes to hear all these things to diagnose what we believe is your number one problem. And what's crazy is the amount of people that say, yeah, I guess I didn't think about it like that. Wow. I mean, okay, that, like, it's a shock to a lot of business owners. They don't realize that is their number one problem. So you've got to get really good at identifying what is your number one problem. So right now, March 26th, we did Q2 planning last week as a leadership team. And we walked away knowing every department, marketing, sales, customer success, operations, every department, we know their biggest weakness and their biggest roadblock and obstacle. And then we picked the number one out of all 4 of those to say, this is the number one priority for Q2. And then, because we have 4 leaders, besides myself, they each have their own priority within it, but that should all be leaning right into the big one. So just really getting clear. It's all in the plan. So let me ask you in the chat, have you planned for Q2? And I'm talking like really planned. Like, I've got my April mapped out of all the objectives. So every one of us, there's 5 of us. We have 3 to 5 goals, projects for each person, including myself. Okay. That's a lot, right? That's 15 things we are saying we are going to get this done in Q2. Have you done that yet? The good news is it's still March 26th. I think Tuesday is April. You've got time, but you need to do it this week for sure. Okay. All right. So number 3 was confusing busy with productive. You see the difference, and busy versus productive, and distracted versus productive, right? So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, I want to go viral too, Stacy, right? But you don't have, the product needs to be tweaked, right? You don't have a great funnel. There's just some things you've got to fix, right? Remember when the lady, I think she bought a Kohl's mask. Somebody fill me in. What did she buy? Some weird like wolf mask or some mask. Okay. Oh, it was like Chewbacca, like something from Star Wars. And it was this noise, and she was playing it in her car, and it was just hysterical. And she was just laughing like crazy and all the things, right? So that lady went crazy, crazy viral, like one of the most viral videos. And I listened to an interview of her, and she said, and nothing happened from it, because I didn't have a funnel. I didn't have Chewbacca or like whatever you would do, merchandise. I didn't have a place for them to go. It was just like cool for them to laugh and giggle and share it. But she's like, but that was it. It was over, right? So you've got to make sure that you got things set up before you move on to top of funnel. So really understanding the order of priority and not getting shiny object syndrome on something you shouldn't be wasting your time on. Okay. So that was number 3. Number 4, overlooking retention. What do I mean by this? So let's talk just in general about building your team. If you are focused on attracting new people, but you're not thinking, how do we keep our amazing people? We've got a problem. Okay. So the cost of turnover is just, it's massive, right? People say, there's so many studies. It's like 2 times an employee salary, 4 times an employee salary. Here's the deal, guys. If you pay somebody to come into your company they're here for 3 months, 4 months. Okay. And they're just training, and they've barely even gotten to like do anything. And you've paid them $2,500 a month. They're here for 4 months. You interviewed for 30 days before you interviewed, hired, all the things, right? You spent 10 grand. You spent 4 months, maybe 5, because there was an interview process, and for nothing. It's just over. That person left, right? So when people are like, oh, it costs this much. No, it literally does. We had somebody who said, she came to us and she said, Okay, I waited to buy well oiled. I wanted to go hire somebody because I didn't want to lose the opportunity. We allow people to bring in up to 4 team members on their team and we help train their team. And she said, I'm so excited. I purposely waited. I've got somebody great that's come on. He's been here now 90 days. And I'm excited for him to be able to get trained. So we started digging. Okay. He should never have been hired. Red flags like crazy. Okay. Basically, we said to her, you got to fire him. Like, this is just, it's a bad fit. Right. And the problem is, it's like they didn't know how to hire. So then the first 3 months, she literally wasted a few $1,000s a month for 90 days. And we had to start the whole process over again. So you've got to be really careful. You want to make sure that you understand how to hire and get the right person in the door. And then you want to pour into them as much as you possibly can. Okay. So we want people to love their job. We want people to love the people they work with. All right. I have seen a lot of business owners who will say things like, she's amazing. She gives great output. However, people don't really love to work with her. So we kind of just like keep her away from everybody else. Not exaggerating. This was just said in our Powerhouse Mastermind, which is 7 and 8 figure business owners. Somebody was like, we just kind of keep her isolated and she just works there. Because if she works with other people don't really like working with her. Okay. Oh man, here's the problem. When you dread going to work with somebody, if it's really bad, at some point you're like, I can't, I have to leave. Like, I can't do this. I can't stay here. So this goes for clients and it goes for employees, team members, etc. If you have a bad apple and you are not like nipping that attitude in the bud, the good people leave. And that is not something you want. You do not want to be losing A players. You want to be losing the B, C, D players that snuck in. Okay. So how can we make sure that our employees, our team members, our contractors love working for us, love working with the rest of the team? Okay. So that is a big, big area that I think you don't realize is actually costing you money, especially when you don't have them document systems and they leave with the systems in their head. And it's like, we have to start over and we don't have any of that stuff. Okay. So that's the part that's really, really, really scary is when your business is people reliant, right? When they're people reliant and not process reliant, if somebody leaves, it can tank your business. How many of you, when I say, who would you be devastated? Like if somebody left and you like, and you would be devastated over it, who would it be? Like, just think of that person in your head. Okay. It happens a lot, right? Where you're like, she can't leave. He can't, like, I need him, right? If they left, oh my goodness, it would be a disaster. Okay. In my business, we have systems. So if somebody left and they're an A player, we would be sad. We would not love it, but we would easily be able to hire and bring somebody new in to do their systems. So that's what I want you thinking about is, do you have the systems in place where even if somebody left, you could quickly onboard the next person? All right. So that was mistake number 4. All right. Mistake. And then if you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll stick around for a few more minutes and take some questions. And if you're in Woo Plus, which just means that you've actually been in more than one round of well oiled already, and it's our advanced trainings, I'm going live today at 1 p.m. Central, and I'm doing a brand new training on pricing strategy, increasing pricing, increasing the value. I've never done this before. I think it was like 196 slides and an insane workbook that gives you like step-by-step, a 4-week plan of how to get your pricing in order. So that's coming up at 1 p.m. Central if you're in Woo Plus, okay? All right, number 5. Mistake number 5 is being the bottleneck CEO. And I put this at the end because this is where I think it really, really changes the way you do business, right? So if your calendar hasn't changed in the last year, right, your business probably hasn't made that many changes either, right? So I used to have an insane full calendar every day, right? Now for me, Mondays are pretty heavy. I kind of front loaded on purpose. And the rest of the week is intentional and light. So I want you to ask yourself, if I had to leave for a year, could this business grow without me? And I know most people watching are going to say, absolutely not. Like you've maybe been watching for 25 minutes and you've already been interrupted by the team, right? Or a client texted or called or messaged or slacked, right? You can barely step out for 15 minutes without being needed, right? So I really want you to ask yourself, if you are everything to the business, what do you think it's costing you? Right? Some people can't grow, the business can't grow because if the business grew, the CEO would have to work more, but some of the CEOs are maxed out. So they've literally capped business capacity. And we want to make sure that there is always an opportunity to grow right now. Okay. Guys, if you're liking this video, make sure to hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. That is our next big milestone we are shooting for as we double down. Now, just so you know, we are about to start releasing 2 on-demand videos every single week here on YouTube. So right now we do about 1 a week on Thursdays typically. So make sure you're checking those out. But we're up in it a little bit and you're going to start seeing 2 videos dropped every single week here on YouTube. So make sure you hit subscribe. Okay. So with that said, let's just dive in a tiny bit deeper to being the bottleneck and figuring out what does that actually mean and what does that look like and how do we make those changes? Okay. Okay. Susan just said, so hard to think about how to step out when the business is you as a medical provider. How do you do that? Okay. So what's so funny is my daughter's getting braces and I go to the dentist, and the dentist office is the guy's name on the door, right? It's him. He's the main guy and you are expecting to see him. Susan, I assume that is very much so what's happening for you. Okay. Now, here's the deal. My daughter needs braces. I'm looking for somebody to provide the results, right? With a good value. I'm obviously checking out how much is this going to cost? What does this look like, et cetera. Okay. So first, I actually checked out multiple places. I did not go to one dentist and say, yes, we'll take it. Okay. I checked out a few places. Now, what's interesting is the guy that we're using is the guy with the name on the door. I don't really care who gives my daughter braces as long as she gets the outcome of straight teeth and the person is friendly and professional and like they're safe there, right? I don't need him. But so many business owners think, but it's me, I'm Susan, and everybody, and my name's on the door and everybody comes to see me. But Susan, if you are so good and you could train other people to do what you're doing, right? I don't care if it's Susan or Susan's right hand that has been trained under Susan, as long as I get the outcome. And it's so funny because so many times medical providers think like lawyers will say, well, this doesn't work for a law firm. I'm like, we have a gazillion law firms where the owner is no longer practicing law. I think they still get their license and they're updated, but they're not the ones in the courtroom. Like, what do you mean? Like my lawyer has 10 lawyers on her team. And half the time I do not talk to the owner. I talk to one of the people on her team. And I'm happy because I'm getting the result that was promised, right? So it's in our head that they need us. Okay. I had somebody say, give up info at email. Well, I've been in business 30 years. They expect me to respond. And I said, yes, they expect you because you've been doing it the whole time. That's the only reason they expect you to answer, right? So I haven't checked the info at email in, probably 12 years. And the reason they don't expect me is because I trained somebody else and they're doing a good job and there hasn't been an issue. So we train our clients to have different expectations. So when we're the bottleneck, it's because we have a limiting belief that they need me. It has to be me, right? It's like, listen, I called 3 places, 3 dentists. Not only did I not need you, but the other place, it was more of a corporation. They have many franchises. I knew I wasn't getting the owner over there. And I didn't pick this guy because he's the owner. No, it was just an overall better experience. But if he didn't pop in, I would have taken somebody else. Okay. All right. Now, Susan says, but I can't afford to hire another practitioner yet. Okay. This is kind of the hamster wheel catch-22 situation that goes on that keeps business owners stuck. Okay. So it's the, and team, can somebody just make a note of this specific thing I'm going to say and like Slack me it because I want to remember to do something else with this content. So anyway, it's the I'm stuck here, and if I can't hire, I'm stuck here and I can't hire, can't afford to hire, but I am stuck here and I can't make more money, so I'm never going to be able to afford to hire. So your thoughts of what that situation is literally going to permanently keep you with the person's name on the door, and he's still there at age 65. Okay. That thought is so damaging to your business. All right. So this happened to one of our clients. She went to, I'm not going to say the company, but it was like one of those free things from, I think it was like from, no, you're not going to say it. But anyway, it was one of those free things she got interstate that she could be a part of. Okay. And the guy, he's like a CPA, and he looked at the math and he said, yeah, you can't afford to hire, which was true. Okay. It was true. On paper, she could not afford to hire. And I said to her, but here's the thing. Are you happy? And are you going to be happy if you're here in 6 years? Because right now, that's where you're trending. You're not going to get out of this rut. You're never going to be able to afford to hire because you're maxed out. You're never going to make more money because you're maxed out, right? So you will stay here. And she's like, I cannot. So I said, here's the deal. As a business owner, we have to be a little bit of a gambler. You just have to. Hello, we are risk takers. If you're not a risk taker, you should not be in business, because every day we take risks, right? So I said to her, listen, we need to find a role that we think can make money back fast, because you're right. He's right. You can't afford it. So we've got to make sure that this person makes the company money immediately. So where could we have this person come in and make money immediately? Okay. We came up with a position to immediately get this person hours per week that money would come in and would start paying for her role. Okay. She takes the leap, even though the guy says, do not do it. And I'm like, you have to, you literally have to, like, otherwise go get a real job and just clock in and clock out. Right. So she does it. Within 90 days, she's like, Stacy, my life has changed. Because what happened was this person starts making money, right? She was able to take her from part-time to full-time, and she was able to back out. She spent more time on marketing and sales. And then she filled the new girl who's in fulfillment, right? So Susan, same thing for you. If you could focus on marketing and sales, you could blow up your practice and you could start giving the new practitioner clients. But until you take that leap, right, you will stay stuck, which is why so many businesses stay right here. And until you say, okay, I've got to learn how to hire, I've got to learn how to train, I've got to learn how to get them being a revenue generator, until you have that skill set, you will be on this hamster wheel, because there's just nothing that's going to change about it. Okay. Now, as a risk taker though, I like to take a risk where I know this is in my favor, right? So when I risk hiring somebody, I also know I'm going to fire them fast. We unfortunately just let somebody go who was with us, I think, for 2 weeks. And it's just one of those things where it's like, when you know, you know. And she wasn't pacing like everybody else was pacing. And we're like, do we just keep paying her and hoping it works out? And it's like, it never works out when they're not pacing where they should be, right? So I take risks, but I also take fast action if I'm like, you know what? I gambled wrong. That person's not a good fit. Let them go. Okay. Yeah. And Susan, use that as evidence. You already did this. You hired a wellness coach. It helped a lot, right? Like you already felt that, right? So you gamble little by little as you're doing this. Okay. All right. So good. Art 1, when hiring a very first employee, a project manager, in my case, how can you motivate a highly qualified person when you don't have obvious growth opportunities for that person in the near future? Okay. So when you're in like a startup position and somebody comes in as your first employee, it's actually a phenomenal growth opportunity for them, because you're just getting started. And if they're think about it. You walk into any business and you've got to climb the ladder. Guess what? Employee number 1, you're at the top of the ladder. And if you do a good job, as this org chart grows, it's possible she's like glued to you. And as the ladders go, she's coming right up alongside. So you actually have a phenomenal growth opportunity. And if you said to somebody, listen, here's what we do. We're on a mission to do X. I am dedicated to this. I am serious about this. I'm going to take this company to, you just tell her, him or her, where I'm going, what I'm doing. And if it's the right person, they're going to go, wow, that sounds amazing. I'm really excited to join you on this, right? And you explain right now it's just going to be you and me, but pretty soon it's going to be a third and then a fourth right? And you're going to have opportunity to decide where you want to be on that org chart based off of what you produce. So I think you've got a phenomenal opportunity when you're bringing on that first person. I mean, how many people in here probably have a right hand that's been with them for a while, right? And the earlier you get in, the better you're able to actually like have them work with you, because as long as they're picking things up, it's amazing, right? So good. Okay. So thank you. Those were such good questions. I appreciate the real world problem with it. Okay. So back to that last part of, are you the bottleneck, right? So if you're the problem, if you're the person that needs every question answered, like you have to come to me if there's an issue, if there's a fire to be put out, come to me, right? Then the business can only move as fast as you can answer. And you can't compete with somebody that has a bigger team than you if they're a strong team, right? My team is a very strong team. If my competitor, let's say one of my competitors has a team of 4 and I have a team of 50, good luck. I've got 50 people working all day, every day, right? 40 hours a week, and you've got 5. There's just 0% chance you will ever outperform me. Even if you're like, oh, they're A players. Well, so are mine, right? So one of your biggest unfair advantages is learning how to build a team, because your competitors will not be able to keep up. Okay. They just can't, they're not the big dog, and they won't be able to if they don't have the skill set. So that's the best part about this is I have gotten good at a skill set that 99% of business owners do not have, which is hiring, right? Attracting, hiring, managing, retaining. I was not naturally good at it. I learned how to be good at it. Okay. So please know you can master this too. But the point is because I'm good at a 1% thing that like most people are not good at, it's hard for my competitors to keep up. I also do not need to have control over everything, right? So in my world of owning dance and music schools, okay, maybe some of you have kids in competitive sports and things like that, right? When you're in a competitive world, you want to be the best and you want to be like winning awards and trophies and all of that. And I get a lot of my friends that have dance studios in different cities to say to me, how are you not going to the dance studio competitions? Like, how are you not there all weekend, every weekend? And I'm like, because you have to win and you think you are the best person to be in that room. I am trying to figure out who can do my job 80% as well as me. And I multiply them and I send those people who want to do that, who are excited to do that, right? And honestly, like when I say like 80%, at some point, guys, they start to outperform you. Like I have people on my team that are way better than me at some of these roles, right? Because it's what they do. So that's what I really want you to think about. Okay. Yeah, I love it. If you have to be there for the business to run, the business will never be bigger than you. And that is 1000% true, Danielle, right? And here's the thing, my business is so much bigger than me, right? And that is why I don't have to feel guilty if I need to take off Friday a half day because I'm just tired or my kids have something at school and I want to go to it. I don't have to feel guilty about missing work because the business runs without me. The business is bigger than me. There are 50 other people getting work done if I need to step out for something. Like I took my daughter to get her braces yesterday or to get a consult for braces. So I was gone for a couple hours in the middle of the day. The business didn't feel it, right? You don't want to be in a situation where you can't step away, or if you do, the business feels it. Okay. So is the business bigger than you? If it's not, that is a great place to start putting your time and energy. Okay. So a little homework for today. I want you to think about which one of these mistakes is your biggest mistake, right? So we talked about being the bottleneck, overlooking retention, confusing busy with productive, not knowing ROI of the role, right? And then hiring before you've actually done the audit. Which one, just one, I mean, you might be making all of them, but which one are you like, oh my goodness, this is costing me a fortune? Okay. I think we get so overwhelmed in business because there's so much to do. There's so much to fix. And you guys, even at our level, like we're an 8-figure business. There's so many problems to fix. There's so many like balls in the air. There's no, it's not a different, right? Not a different story. But the idea here is don't get overwhelmed by all the things you could be doing. Figure out your biggest thing you need to be doing, right? One thing, that's it. And put it on your Q2 agenda to get it done. And let me tell you, if you can fix your biggest frustration by the end of Q2, you're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders, right? You don't need to do all of it. Just do one, but pick the biggest. Pick the biggest, okay? And if anybody wants help learning how to pick the biggest and what the biggest is, especially right now with it being Q2, if you go to bookwoocall.com, bookwoo, W-O-O, call.com, you can do a free 60-minute strategy call with our team. And they'll teach you, like, well, they'll share with you what they believe is your biggest domino, your biggest $1 million problem. And they'll let you know if you're a good fit for Well-Oiled. And they'll share more details if you're interested. Okay, Omar, I have a situation where an employee has slacked off and productivity is down significantly. Tasks that should take 16 take 32. Should I cut hours until I trust them? Okay, with other projects. Great question. So first of all, cutting the hours does not really solve the problem. So what do I mean by that? So first of all, when somebody is spending, and Omar, let me ask you this. Is this person remote or in the building? Remote or in the building? Are you with them? I have a feeling they're remote, but we'll see. Okay, so while that's coming in, here's what I will say. Sometimes they're slow in the building. Oh, interesting. Okay. Sometimes they're slow. And truly, it's just not the person that you need at that level. They're just, the output is slow. Sometimes, if this was remote, they're working another job. We see it, you guys. The amount of people we have caught, some on our team, some on clients' teams, right? Where they're not actually you think they're working for you and they're not. Now, just because this person is in the building, they could be being busy and not productive. They could be sitting here on their iPhone. Like how many times you guys walk into a place and the girl in the front desk is on her iPhone? So this person could be like on the computer, on the iPhone, not actually doing your projects. So they're getting half the amount of time. Now, something to consider. If this person is at like the reception desk, they are interacting with customers. We used to think, why are our receptionists so slow? And then we realize they are getting interrupted by clients constantly. We know the problem with switch tasking, right? So when you're working and then you're like, oh, how can I help you? Right? And then you're like helping. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, where was I? What was I doing? Try to get back in the flow. And you get back and, oh, hi, how can I help you? This is what our front desk was doing. And we're like, why are they so slow? And it's because they're not working in peace and quiet. They're getting interrupted constantly. So you may have to sit and observe this person. So you may want to purposely shadow and be with this person for a day and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize the phone is ringing off the hook, right? So that's what I want you thinking about. Yeah, I would agree the slacking on phone usage definitely could be happening, but you may want to spend a day where you sit in the office that day on purpose. And if the productivity skyrockets double the output, I would immediately say something. I would just say, hey, today was great and you did amazing, but it's not what I typically see when I'm not here. Okay. However, you might go, oh my goodness, I cannot believe the amount of interruptions they're getting. So before we judge him, go check it out and just shadow. Okay. You'd be very shocked. Now, it also could be that you're not being clear enough on expectations. So we actually did just say to a contractor, I think in the last like 7 days, we are expecting X output. Right now, we're getting about half that. My question for you is, are you able to become more efficient and get us to this output, right? Or we may need to part ways. So I don't take slow as like, oh, he's slow. Okay, got it. I guess that's all I'm getting. No, I can find somebody else twice as fast as you. So either figure it out. What do you need from me? Or I'm going to go find the person for the same pay that can do twice as much work as you're doing. Okay. So that is where I would be checking it out. Now, you could before you even shadow say, hey, I noticed productivity is down, like from what you used to do. I've noticed the output is lower than what I've seen in the past like 4 or 6 months. Is anything going on? Is it getting busier? Like, fill me in. Just you saying that, they're like, oh, he noticed, right? You do not want people to think you're not noticing things. So when somebody shows up late, "Hey, notice you're a few minutes late. Is everything okay?" You need them to know, I noticed you walked in late. I noticed you're producing last. Is everything okay? Is something going on? Fill me in. Is the computer slow? Like, give me. One time I had to work the front desk. This was like a decade ago. I go to work the desk. The computer is so slow. So slow. Like, I'm talking like typing in my password and it's like loading for like a minute. Okay. I call up the office manager and I go, is the computer broken today? Or is this what you're like on a daily basis? She's like, yeah, it's just really, really slow. I'm like, listen, this is not okay. I am paying people so much money and they're not able to work as much as they could because of a bad piece of equipment. You got to tell me when the computer is like ancient. Like, if I don't work at the front desk, I don't know that the computer is slow. So you got to tell me. And then we've got to figure out like, how many years do we need before we buy a new computer that we can just put it in our like, put it in your Google Calendar. Every 2 years, ask yourself, how is the computer? Is it slow? Do we need a new one? Maybe do it every Black Friday so that you can be like, do I need to spend money? But I'm going to do it on a sale month, right? So anyway, these are things like that that could be hurting them, an individual, but it's not technically their fault. And they don't know to say to you like, yeah, your computer's garbage and you need to update it because it's from 2015. Right? So just a lot. Now, it totally could be them. It could be they're slacking. You're not saying anything. They're liking it. Right? They've been here 3 years. I don't know. I feel like I've earned the right to just sit on my phone a little bit. So yeah, I would just say, yeah, no assumptions. Ask, hey, I've noticed this. What do you fill me in? What do you think's going on? And you say it out of curiosity and not accusatory, right? It's not about them. It's just like, would love to hear your thoughts on if you've noticed that too, or like, what do you think? Yeah. And then even if it's not clear, even if it is clear, you could still shadow, right? We practice, like we preach, everybody should be audited, shadowed consistently. Like, you're being recorded for quality assurance. You need that. You need quality assurance. And you're only going to have assurance on the quality because you can actually check in and see what's going on. So like my dance teachers, music teachers, etc., their managers come and sit in the classroom in the corner in a chair. I don't know how often. It might be like once a quarter. Sorry, I don't have the exact time frame, but they literally get feedback on their class. Like, they have a thing they fill out and then they give that information to the teacher to say, okay, here's what I noticed. Here's what you did great. Here's what I would like to see improvement on, etc. So everybody is audited, shadowed, etc. And it's not because we don't trust people. It's because one of our core values, right, is a powerhouse mindset. And it's like, never settle and always be better. And we can't train you if we don't know what's going on. So we're here to just make our team members better, right? And that's a great way to do that. Yeah, so good. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap this up. So with that said, I think the biggest one that kind of hit a nerve, which I put at the end on purpose, was being that bottleneck CEO. How do you start to back out, let go of control? And what I will tell you is baby steps, right? Some people go from like holding on to everything to like throwing something at the person in charge. And that's not how you do it. You slowly let go. And as they show that they've got it, right, then you move faster. But you don't just throw things at people. You really take the time to be with them, train, pour into your team. The only reason I feel confident my team is being productive right now is because we have set up the onboarding processes to pour into them to make sure they are properly trained. All right, guys, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for jumping on live. If you are inside of Woo Plus, meaning you have already renewed inside of Well Oiled and you're in our advanced classes, come hang out with me in about 10 minutes. I'm going to be live. Go check out your school portal. The link will be inside of there. I'm talking all pricing, value, you name it. I will see you guys soon. And if anybody wants to book your free consultation, you can do that at bookwoocall.com. All right, guys, I will see you soon. And stay tuned for tomorrow's video that's dropping Thursday morning as well, right here on our YouTube. Oh, yes. If you want our free workbook today, go to Instagram, DM me at Stacy Tuschl, the word fortunes, And there is a workbook associated with today's training to really get you going and understand like, where do I go next to help you move forward? All right, guys, take care. Talk to you soon.